Hello and welcome to Tarot with Tanya. This is 7 cards for 7 days, and we are looking at the week that begins Monday, July 8th and goes to Sunday, July 14th. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome if you are new, and welcome back if you have been here before. And as always with a general reading like this, take what resonates for you. We're working on developing our own intuition, and let the rest of it go. You'll know just by feeling what that is. So this week we're starting with our moon in Leo. We're going to the moon in Scorpio. So we've got a fixed sign to a fixed sign. So, it could be good for some structure, getting some things done, and also a good call for staying flexible. With Leo, very creative, can be dramatic, good time to be with kids, do fun things, romantic. And then the Scorpio, very intense, can be focused on financial matters, transformational issues, things like that, deep, psychic. So I'll talk a little bit more about the astrology for the week, then we'll go over the cards, and then we'll end with a tree oracle card today. And I am using the Wildwood deck again. So on Monday, the 8th, we have Venus sextiling Uranus and Mercury sextiling Jupiter. And if you've watched before, you may remember that sextiles tend to be a nice, easy flow of energy, so that's great. So Venus, planet of beauty, love, art, relationships, is in a good place with Uranus, so there's a good energy flowing there, but it's also unusual. So you can meet exciting, interesting, different sorts of people, could impact your romantic life, your aesthetic life, but be open to new adventures. And then with the Mercury sextile Jupiter, that's our communication, our ideas, and that big, expansive, benevolent, or planet Jupiter. So could be a wonderful flow of information and creativity. You could feel very expanded. It might not be the best day for making the most stable financial decisions. So you might want to hold off on that a little bit. By Wednesday, we have the Sun trining Saturn. So, Saturn is very disciplined, focused, wants us to work hard on what we do. And then the Sun, of course, is our great center of light and warmth, and so this can help us focus on what needs to be done, so we can have a lot of discipline to get good things done that day. And on Thursday, Venus plays again. This time she's trining Neptune. So Neptune, the ocean, the water, the transpersonal, the way out there in consciousness, well, more like unconsciousness, the collective unconscious. So it could be very lovely for the creativity, for feeling each other's feelings, for being able to tap in to the transpersonal, perhaps the psychic, and enjoying maybe a very nice date. And then we also have, just a little bit later that day, Venus moves into Leo. And I've mentioned before, Leo's the drama, the creativity, very exciting, very romantic, can be connected to children. Venus there can be very flirty, enjoying a good time. So then on Friday, now Venus opposes Pluto, because Pluto's in those very early degrees of Aquarius, and then Venus will be in its opposite, the very early degrees of Leo. So that can be a little tricky. That's our one really tricky aspect for the week. So, and the card that came up for that day actually goes along with that very well. So, you might want a little more diplomacy in relationship matters, a little bit more patience and trying to negotiate things that day. All right, so let's take a look at the cards. And we have 4 majors. It seems lately it's been either 1 major or 4. Very little in between. So this is 4, so that means the energies are pretty strong. And here we have that Venus sextiling Uranus, as I mentioned, on Monday, and we have the Lovers card. Now, this can be obviously about romantic relationships, but it can be other kinds of partnerships. It can be negotiations, contracts, things like that, people coming together over something. I think it's a beautiful energy. Again, on the light side, on the darker side, it could mean that we need to work on those things, but the astrology is supporting a pretty good day in terms of our commitments with other people, our more romantic commitments mostly. On Tuesday, then on the 9th, we move into a couple of minors for a few days. And here we get the 2 of bows. And bows in this deck, because you're probably not going to be surprised to hear, represent the fire element. So what you would normally know as wands. And this is a quite fiery image, right? You got the 2 wands burning, and it almost seems like a fire is coming right out of our person's head here. And sometimes this is about balancing power. How do we balance power with other people? Now, that day we don't have any particular aspects, but the other ones, are lasting. We still have Pluto retrograde, we have Saturn retrograde, we have Neptune retrograde. So, just thinking about where we are in our balance of power with ourselves and others. And then on Wednesday, we have an earth card, stones. So the 4, and this one is subtitled Protection, just making sure I have that right. And you see the fawn here hiding in the stones, a little bit of a Stonehenge-like look here. And feeling very protected. Now, taken to the extreme, it can be that we overprotect, we hold on to money, we don't let go of things. So you want to find that balance that feels right, that you've got your bases covered, but there's also some openness and airiness, like our little fawn shows, and trust that goes with that as well, so not holding on too tight. We're back to majors by Thursday. And this time we get the Green Woman, and it's a number 3, so in most tarot decks this would be the Empress. So abundance, beauty, creativity, plenty for all. And her belly here always reminds me of a nice ripe apple, and then you have these really interesting little creatures that are perched in her hands helping her. There's a lot of symbolism going on, and you can notice some of the stuff maybe down on the kettle. So it's this openness, it's this flow, it's this great abundance. So it can feel like a very good day that way. And that's the day that the sun is trine Saturn. On the other hand, the dark side of it can be more like a sort of overprotectiveness from the feminine, and when that gets to the dark side, it can even get manipulative, but hopefully it's going to show up for you in that wonderful, abundant, light-filled way. Friday is that tricky day that I mentioned, and as I said, the cards reflect that somewhat. So now we're into the arrows, which is an air energy. So we covered 3 this week. We didn't get any water. Which is interesting. We're in Cancer season, which is a water sign. So I guess our other elements are kind of balancing us out here too. But this one is subtitled Struggle. And the thing to remember about that, this 8 of Swords, is that the struggle is mental. Or 8 of Arrows, as they call it here. It's in the mind. It is not necessarily a reality. It will feel like it will appear that way potentially, but it doesn't have to be. So another way to approach it is like, what are illusions that have been sent toward us, that we've gathered, that we've created ourselves, and how can we let those go and know that we really are free? Frequently you'll see this card as a person who's blindfolded. A lot of swords will be around the person, maybe even the hands bound. But there's really an easy escape. So remember that with this card, maybe connect it to that. 8 card, the strength, called the stag in this deck, and bring that power forward to know that, you know, what's in our mind is something that we can work with and change. Can be hard, but sometimes not as much. So Saturday then, now we're at the Green Man. So we got that lovely pairing. Again, this would be the Emperor, the counterpart to the Empress in most decks. But here, Green Man, Green Woman. So our Saturday is the Green Man. Also with the big cauldron, different symbolism. Here we've got more emphasis on the faces. You know, he's looking down into this cauldron as well, stirring things up, very fierce look. The Emperor can get a lot done, has really good executive function, knows when to move things, when to not, good strategizer, that kind of energy, really, again, structuring things and making, you know, them work to the best benefit. Now, on the other hand, it can get a little stuck. The 4s are the earth number, and we have that 4 of stones on Wednesday. You know, my caution there was to not overdo it, to know that you are protected, to feel that, to have that sense of groundedness without feeling stuck or dug in on something. And, you know, same with this card, at a higher level. A more important level, a little bit longer lasting, because it is a major. We end our week, our Sunday, with the Wheel, which is lovely. Things changing, cycles moving, good fortune coming in. What's at the top of the wheel that is changing? I mean, obviously it's going round and round. Here, our wheel is in this lovely weaving applique, I'm not sure, but we have a shirt there, and then the wheel sits in that inside the loom. And that loom can represent the way, you know, some of the Greek beliefs, for instance, that we do have a being that creates the yarn or the thread, one who weaves it, one who cuts it. And so, you know, that's symbolizing in some ways that there's constant change, which is also what this card is about. And look for the good fortune. Expect it as much as possible. If it does, something else happens than you were expecting, maybe that's a blessing in disguise. So that's a great way to approach that card. So that is our week. Again, 4 is the dominant number here, 4 majors and 2 4s. So look for the stability with flexibility. And then for our Tree Keeper's Oracle card, it fits beautifully as it always does, and what came up was number 9, which is Keeper of Trust. So with those 4s, that is a component of it, just allowing things, knowing that you're okay now, you're probably going to continue to be okay, and to hold that energy is super important, especially in these very, well, often volatile times. So Keeper of Trust, all that you are to become is already inside you. Just as an acorn has a blueprint for the oak tree, you have a design inside for what your soul tree wants to become. Your mind is the least dependable purveyor of direction. So that's getting out of the head, getting into the other kinds of knowings that we have, our bodies, our intuitions, our feelings. By all means, use it, that mind, but not as your ride or die in times of creativity or crisis. That's what your soul is for, and that's what we're working on here in the channel, connecting with our souls. So the soul contains the connection to your highest source and most authentic self. Trust it. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Again, beloveds, thank you so much for being here this week, and please consider sharing, liking, subscribing, passing it on to others you think might be interested. And if I can help you with a personal reading, or you have questions about other people, your guides, past lives, future, things like that, anything really, let me know, reach out. There'll be information below in the description box and at the end of the video, and I'm wishing you the best week possible.